doing, friends? It's so nice to be here. I'm Lynn Serrano with Scott. You're muted. You're muted.
The best he's ever sound.
We've got John, we've got Sandy, we got Barry, we got Debbie, we got Scott, Two Hips, and T-Rex himself, Rex Sykes. I mean, this is just a great gathering of people. I don't think we should just talk. I think we should just stare at the screen and be wonderful. Because we're just going to open our mouths and screw it up, you know?
That's so true, unfortunately.
Welcome, everybody. This is awesome.
That's right.
This is awesome. Before we start the show, everybody knows I'm a big music guy and everything. And just a shout out to the late, great Gordon Lightfoot, who we lost today. One of the greatest musicians coming out of the 70s and 60s and 70s, really. But just such an iconic voice. And if you want to really teach your kids about music, have them listen to a recording of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald one time. And if they don't feel it, then they don't know music. So if they switch over to listen to something else like Tupac or something, I don't know. Anyway, but just R.I.P.
In 2019,
Gordon Lightfoot.
There are those who believe nothing good came out of music after about 1977. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying I agree with that, but there are those people who think that post disco era and everything that followed, punk and new wave and all where we are today, that none of it is as quality as what came before. But then, of course, they would say that.
Because my parents and my grandparents thought nothing was better than Glenn Miller. So it's just
I'd agree
it's
with
just a matter of timing.
Yeah, they're right.
All I know is when I'm listening to my 80s music and my daughter says, "Why are you listening to the oldies?" And I'm like, "But that's not oldies. It's very, very confusing for me."
What screwed my head around for a long time was I was somewhere and they were talking about oldies, and it was anything over like 5 years was an oldie.
Oh God!
Now it's probably 2 years. I mean, but this was 5 years was an oldie. And I was like, I thought you meant like rock and roll, the 50s and 60s. They went, no, we meant like 1995 or whatever it was.
Wow. Well, that qualifies every pair of underwear I own as an oldie. All right. That's good.
That's a visual, Scott. We can never get out of our head.
And the topic being mean what you say and say what you mean. He probably meant it too.
For Scott, we can know that it's a blessing he has underwear because it's holy.
Yeah.
That's funny.
All righty.
All right. Well,
what, Scott?
I can go somewhere with all of that, but I think I'll save that for just the voice in my head for later tonight, so I can laugh myself to sleep. I'd love to jump right into this topic because I think this topic has a lot. Whether you're getting this kind of thinking from books like The Four Agreements or wherever you might be seeing it, but mean what you say and say what you mean. And the reason I brought this up is because I was working with Lee in this past week, who was really having a hard time separating himself from the lies he'd been telling in his whole life, or the lies he's been telling himself. And he's starting to discover more about himself coming out of addiction and a lot of other things. And he's starting to realize, it's like, I've never really been authentic and put myself out there. I've always tried to figure out what everybody wants me to say and done that. And he came out feeling really, really low about it. And then the opposite end of the spectrum is people that take advantage of this. And, and this, I guess this goes with a lot of our politicians. They figure out what's the popular thing to say, but they're not, it's not coming from an authentic place. It's coming from a place of marketing. It's coming from a place of, this is what's going to make me popular. So this is what I'm going to do. And awards of actually being able to do and to say what you mean and mean what you say and be unapologetic. This does not mean being mean. This is not about being mean. People believe that sometimes when I'm honest, it's like, if I hurt people, so what? There's There's no such thing as brutal honesty. There's brutality and there's honesty. There are no such thing as brutal honesty. You're either being mean or you're not. But to start to live your life and to discover that what I want to say and what I mean to say deserves to be said. It deserves to be said. I'm allowed to say it. And it changes my whole life to be able to do that. So I wanted to see if anybody else had any thoughts on that. Take it anywhere you want to go. Not like anybody can control our conversations here anyway, but just go anywhere you want with
including
this.
us.
And let's see what happens.
Except Lynn. Except Lynn.
You know, I have something to say about this. Mean what you say and say what you mean. There's a couple of, hello, anybody there? There's a couple of.
Is that our host?
The host is making phone calls during the show. But there's a couple of different angles I want to take this. One is mean what you say and say what you mean. And it's not necessarily for other people or what you say to them, but it's for yourself. So even in my own book, I had written a very short thing that said, you know, when I said I wanted to write the book and I told myself I was going to, I did it. I trust myself that when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And so when I even talk to myself, I want to mean what I say and say what I mean. And then another thing I would like to say is, as you raise children and you're the disciplinarian, but you're also, you know, you're the parent, you're the one that gives them, you know, the care and love that they need, but you also give them discipline, and you also have to guide them in a positive way, but also, like you said, Scott, in a honesty. They can take it to be mean, but the delivery that I always gave, I tried to say it in a deliver the message in a good way when you're giving criticism. But when they would do something that they knew they shouldn't and they were to get in trouble, they knew when I said, now you're not going to do this or this or this, and this is being taken away, that's exactly what would happen. And Tori and I were just having a conversation last week, and she was like, oh, I always knew when you said something, you were going to stick to it. So I think that I think that's valuable in life, that people know, good or bad, you mean what you say and you say what you mean. That's all.
Absolutely.
Anyone?
Crickets?
I think with parents, that's important.
Okay.
I wanted to raise a question.
Okay.
Are we equating say what you mean and mean what you say with keep your word, or my word is my bond, or any of those sorts of things?
I think it's just however you want to take it and whatever angle
but
you want
you
to go.
would say that.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
But
Well,
I'm fine.
the reason I ask is because there are subtle differences between the two, and they probably share some overlap.
Let's go with
Okay.
it.
Well, I mean, I'm just
It's
putting it.
wherever you want to take it. Yeah, wherever you want to take it. If it's keeping your word or being authentic to your word, or that's one thing. But it's also about it's what you say to yourself and all those other things as well too. Yes.
Well, okay. Well, then since I'm talking, I'll talk. But you should be honest with yourself and with other people, and you should keep your word with yourself as well as other people. When you don't keep your word and you're dishonest with yourself, you're not doing yourself a service. You're certainly confusing things for yourself and not making it any easier or any better. And if you do that with other people, you're being a schmuck. You know, you're just treating other people poorly. If you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, you know, what good are you? You know, I mean, and I say that lovingly, but the point is if people can't rely on you, and if you can't rely on you, then what do you have? You know, this is why some people say reputation precedes you, because you're either known as a person who does what they say, who walks their talk and talks their walk and makes things happen, or you're a person who just makes promises, or as Scott has said, you know, uses a popular approach through marketing to make yourself desirable. But you're not being an honest friend to anyone, including yourself, if that's how you live. That said, because I think it's important. If you say you're going to do something, you should do it within 24 hours, 48 hours, maybe 72 on the outside at the very most.
Unless that's losing weight.
Well, right, but you can start it.
I'm going to lose 50 pounds in 24 hours.
No, but that's the difference between a realistic goal and something.
Exactly.
But you can start. You can say, well, okay, I want to lose 50 pounds in a certain amount of time or whatever, but I'm going to go to the gym today, or I'm going to eat better today. I'm going to do so. You can start it right away. You don't have to wait 6 months in order to start something. However, you also ought to have the ability to be flexible and change your mind if you make a decision that isn't good for you or good for other people. But you also need to alert people to the fact that that's what you're doing, and not just go whither which way and confuse them, or yourself. You're saying, hey, I've thought about this. I know what I promised you. I will make good on whatever I say, but I need to do it differently than how I promised. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But you owe it to people and you owe it to yourself to be authentic. And so with that, I pass.
And I think what you said, Rex, is awesome. But I think what the other thing is consistency.
Yes.
You look at a lot of things saying, I'm going to do this. I'm a big manifest person. And again, I joined this manifest group. I thought it was a cult. I thought I was going to have that chopped off. I didn't know what was happening, but I was going to do it. But the point was, now I have no feet. Besides that, if you do that for 6 to 8 weeks, you wake up every morning, and we've talked about this before. You got out of bed going, here's what I'm doing today, man. You get out of bed in a negative attitude, you're living a negative day. And I've learned this from Deb, and I've learned this from Lynn, and again, love both of them. But when you start, all of a sudden, 2 or 3 weeks into that, here's my goal. Here's what I'm doing today. Make them small goals. Don't make them crazy. Make them crazy, you're not going to achieve them. Make them small, then make them bigger. Then they get bigger, and you manifest it and have your gratitudes. 6 weeks into it, man, you are flying high. You cannot wait to get out of bed. Mel Robbins, man, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get out of bed, dude. Let's do this. And if you can stick with the consistency, and like you said, Rex, there's a lot of people that they have these goals, but they won't stick with the consistency. Once, I think it's 4 to 6 weeks. It's like exercising. I don't exercise. I go to the health club to get a haircut twice a month. That's when I go to the health club. I feel healthy when I leave. My hair is short. I feel amazing. But when I wake up in the morning, man, you're fired up. You got your goals. You do it, and all of a sudden, things start falling into place. But you got to give it the 6 weeks, Rex. You got to give it that.
Rex.
Not you. I'm not saying you, Rex, but you spoke last. I'm just saying, once you get into that pattern of believing in it, like what we're doing here, it's key.
Well, and I agree with you, John. And as I often say, if you want to make a new habit or wire anything in behaviorally, you have to do it correctly, repeatedly, consistently for long enough. And however long enough is however long it is until it becomes wired in as a habit. So, and it's about developing competence over confidence, because you can be confident about doing something and never do it, but to be able to do it and appreciate it and be confident is what's important.
Absolutely, man.
So right on, man. I love you. Thank you.
Sandy looks like she has something to
I
say.
have a different view. I guess
Awesome.
I do. My angle is coming from boundaries and accountability. So when I think of that, I think of, if I say something to someone, it's keeping in those boundaries and accountability. So I'm big about that, meaning what you say and following through, making sure that you're going to follow through with anything that you put out there for someone else. Don't cross this boundary and this accountability. You gotta keep your word. You have to keep that boundary, because if you keep moving the boundary, you're not going to build trust. So when I was thinking about that, that's kind of where I'm always at, in that boundary and accountability lane. And, I used to kid myself a lot. I used to tell myself a lot of lies of things I was going to do or not do. And when I'm talking about boundaries and accountability, I'm talking about to myself too, just like you were talking about, Debbie. It's more to myself as well. Is like, if am I going to, stay on this track? Am I going to, do this? Am I kidding myself? And I've really had to put the boundaries in for myself and the accountability written down. And then along with other people, like telling them right up front, this is who I am. This is, if we're going to work together, collaborate, anything, this is, how I see this communication and relationship, and really kind of putting the boundaries in at first. So you can stick to what you're going to say and what you're going to do. Because if you're just like free form, unstructured, it tends to kind of fall apart. Or sometimes without structure, you can do a little bit of improv, right? So sometimes it works okay. But I think it's important that you have a plan and that you stick to it. I kind of, I used to be that flighty person. I used to be called flaky a lot, and I'm like, why does everybody think I'm flaking? It's because I would change course in the middle of something, So, I learned through the bad way of people not trusting me and being flaky that I had to really put that structure in place. And it was a learned behavior. That flakiness was a learned behavior. So I didn't even know I was doing it. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. So I think it's a learned behavior somewhat. And I think that you really have to put that structure into your life to follow through. So that's all I have to say.
Wow, Sandy, thanks for sharing that.
I just want to say hi real quick to a few people. Everybody want to say hi to Ken and Jeannie and Mike and Tim and I guess and Randy. And then we got this comment. Do you want to read that, Scott?
I can.
Go ahead, Debbie.
I didn't know if he was frozen. No, he's back.
Jeannie on the board there.
Jeannie said,
my issue is while lying in bed, I talk to myself on what I... Go ahead. Go ahead.
Jeannie is still laying in bed. Would someone read this comment?
My issue is while laying in bed, I talk to myself on what I'm going to do. Then my feet hit the floor in the AM and ...
To be continued.
maybe it's not happening.
Real quick on that, and this is where I got into that, and it's exactly what Jeannie is talking about. It's Mel Robbins, and I'll give a 60-second speech. Mel Robbins, amazing woman. She had a horrible life, hated her husband, drinking a lot, watched a video of parachuters jumping out of a plane. They said 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They jumped out of the plane. So she wrote this book. Literally, it's called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Why do you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? Because there's nothing left. Someone asked her once, why don't you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Because they said then you'd count to a bazillion. So what she did in this book is when she was laying in bed, horrible life, the whole thing, she did 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 because your mind stops. If you want to make that sales call, if you want to get out of bed, if you want to make something difficult to do, when you get to 1, pick up the phone, get out of bed, move your day. And it changed her life. And I got to tell you, you follow her on Instagram. By the way, I love Cher. She won't call me back. Mel Robbins won't call me back. Beside the point. But neither will Deb. That's beside the point. But it's that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You get to the bottom and you do it. Once you do it, and then you do it again, and then you do it again, it becomes part of your life, man. You don't want to get out of bed. You have a tough call to make. You have a tough thing to do. You hit that 1 and you do it. It's absolutely amazing. As a quick hit on Instagram with Mel Robbins.
Yeah, she's amazing.
It'll change your life.
I always
Dawn, as soon as you get to 1, I just keep feeling like I need to jump up.
Well, there's nothing, you can't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
Love it.
Mr. Hipster.
Hippie shade.
Well, when I saw the topic come out for today, I went back to one of my notebooks with one of my mentors. Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind.
Yeah.
My mentor, Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
So
One of my faves.
But it really is that to a certain extent. presentation is all about integrity. People do business with those they know, like, and trust. It's all about developing trust and growing it over a period of time. And that's what that's what your word is. Say what you mean. Cool. I want to tell you what I'm thinking. And then I'm going to do what I say, just from that whole side. And it's interesting. I've used that Dr. Seuss quote in presentations before because it's absolutely true. Those who are on your side won't mind that you're expressing your opinion and whatever. And those who care aren't on your side. I mean, if you're working to do your best all the time and do all that. So it comes about integrity. It comes about trust. It comes about being who you are and being authentic. You can't manufacture authenticity. Either you are or you're not. Harv Eker will say that he said it first, but he didn't. How you do anything is how you do everything. Right. And so the fact of the matter is that truly how you do anything is how you do everything. If you're going to be upfront, upstanding, honest, integrous, all those different things, tell people the way it is. It just is what it is. And it's fair to them, but it's also fair to you. And that was said before. So
that's awesome, Scott.
Thank you.
Love it. Yeah.
Yep. Scott's
next.
There.
Very thought provoking. I got a yep out of Lynn.
Yep.
Yep.
So a couple of things. I think Scott mentioned the 4 agreements. One of those, if you haven't already studied the book, is being impeccable with your word. Frankly, if we all did that, we would change the planet. So definitely recommend that you learn that chapter alone, if nothing else in the book. As my focus in the area of relationships, this is a very interesting topic because in relationships, a lot of people don't know how to say what they mean to their partners because one, they're either trying to please their partner or trying to present a certain persona their partner's not going to be receiving, or they don't actually know what they're saying. And I say this intentionally. People have this thing about say what you mean. A lot of people say stuff because it's the habit they have of saying things. They're not really getting down to the bottom line truth. For example, they might be feeling a little bit uncertain about their partnership, but they won't say that honestly because they're afraid of what the partner will think. When you are authentic and you say what you mean, really mean, deep down inside, you might discover that your partner's thinking the same thing, and you actually can then go see a therapist or work something out and get a whole new relationship out of this. So we as people tend to be, I won't say the word reserved is the wrong word because that's come from English, kind of, we are reserved. But that thing about being, having a veneer, having a presentation of who we want to be seen as and received as. And that becomes a problem because in negotiations in business, to relationships and romance, in the dating scene, my God, the presentations people make, the personas people put on, and the falsehoods they present to be attractive to somebody is a joke.
Yeah.
Ultimately, because the thing is, I was talking about this in an interview last week sometime about how when you go on the first date, you make everything presentable and perfect. You don't put a word wrong. You eat a tiny food and you be very careful. But once you're dating, 6 weeks in, you sit around in sweats eating pizza together. It's like the whole thing. You drop all those standards. So why not be real, authentic up front? Say what you mean. Something Rex said I want to jump in on as well. This thing about changing if you change or renegotiate what you want to do. I do this whole thing in my book, and I've talked about it with people before about having steps to be create better agreements. One of them is you've got to keep your agreements. So if you say something, you're going to do something, mean what you say, stand behind it, keep your agreements. The second one is say no more often. Don't keep agreeing to people, because some people, because they're people pleasers, will keep saying yes to everybody and then being overbooked. So saying no is a healthy way to avoid that. Third one is you make a note of what you said you're going to do so you can remember to do it for the people you said you're going to do it for. Because many people will say, yeah, I'll do that. And then 2 days later, they've forgotten what they agreed to. And people get disappointed. And the fourth one is that thing that Rick said about renegotiating. If you realize you can't do something with some lead time and respect for the people you're doing things for, let them know you need to change things.
Yeah.
So that understanding about how to keep your agreements going, because underneath all of that is if you do keep your agreements, you build trust. And frankly, trust between people is gold. And if you build trust with somebody else, from being authentic, being honest, telling the truth, being impeccable with your word and saying what you mean, you're golden.
Mm,
4 agreements.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
very well said.
You know, can I add some other neuroscience to this?
Ooh, juicy.
And
Yeah.
that is, you know, just this is going to be very compressed in a nutshell. It can't be, you know, it's not exhaustive. Just a snowflake at the tip of Mount Everest. But our subconscious mind is billions and billions and billions and billions of times more powerful, stronger than our conscious mind. And both are gifts to us. We have a conscious mind, Bailey. We have a conscious mind and an unconscious mind for a reason. And those are only descriptions that humans make about it. It's just one thing that we use and we categorize and classify. But here's the important piece. Bailey's going to bark. She wants Sasha to play. The important thing is that consciously, you know, we can attend to make, you know, our subconscious mind attends to trillions and trillions and trillions of bits of data and processes it second by second. Conscious mind can pay attention to 40 bits of data. So there's a huge, vast, enormous difference between the machinery that runs the show and the little tiny machinery that tries to direct the show. And what the subconscious mind is really is wired processes that have been laid down over time through consistency and repetition, and they become habitual and they become the same, and they don't vary and they don't change unless they are deliberately changed or varied. And here's the problem. Everything that you know today that your subconscious mind does, and by the way, it's a gift, it serves you, it doesn't screw you up, it doesn't try and sabotage you. What it does is it serves you, is based on past experiences that you've had in your life. So tomorrow when you want to do something and it's new and you're confronting a new situation and you feel afraid or you feel hateful or hurtful or scared or whatever, that's from the past. Because what the parameters are set is a comfort zone or a zone of safety that we very frequently never get to leave, because the subconscious mind is designed to keep us alive and to keep us thriving and to keep us safe. And anything that takes us out of our comfort zone or zone of safety is perceived as a potential threat. And so we're not likely to do it. So here's the thing. Everything that you think you're doing new and novel and incredible is really stuff from your past. And if you want to make a new decision and you want to speak authentically and you want to talk to another person or yourself, you have to be present. You have to go, what's going on now? And you can't evaluate the past and you can't worry about the future. You have to come to the present moment in order to speak your truth, because your truth isn't in your past and it isn't in the future. It's where you are this second, this moment. And the only way that you do that is to go, how am I doing this moment? What's going on? And if you say, well, this morning or yesterday or 2 minutes ago, you're in the past. If you go, I got this problem, I got this thing I'm worried about, you're in the future. It's coming to here. And if you could be right here and you just do an inventory of yourself, you'll find out, guess what? I'm okay. I have thoughts that make one way or the other, but I'm okay. I'm alive. I'm here. This is whatever. So now can I speak from this place without the preconditioning or the old conditioning of the past? Now, and saying that the past isn't bad and the future isn't bad. It's all a gift. But if you want to do new things, you have to get to a point where you're not doing the old things. If you always do what you always did, you always get the same results, right? So coming to newness is to drop and release and to let go and speak from that moment or be in that moment. So that's what I say.
That's awesome. I think Bailey is telling Sasha, say what you mean and mean what you say. You said you were going to play with me and now you're not.
Something like that, of course.
You know,
they could both go outside and play, and they're both sitting in the doorway, you know,
growling,
telling each other to go outside.
And real quick, if you're looking at engaging clients, I don't care if you're selling cars, selling mortgages. By the way, I do mortgages. Rates are great. Good time to buy or sell. Call me if you need it. Anyway, so it's literally the Ford relationship. What do people like to do? They like to talk about themselves. Ford, family, occupation. What do they do? And all of a sudden, they start talking about themselves. So if you're in a sales area, if you're in any kind of customer service area, if you have your clients talking about themselves, you have a client. It's a relationship. And people make such a big deal about it. Recreation. dreams. Those are the last two. What do you do? And all of a sudden you get people vomiting what they like to do. What did you just do? You made a connection. What did you just do? You made a client. You may not be able to help them, but you can refer them to someone that can help them. So as crazy as this world is, when we boil it down to the basics, it comes down to relating with your clients, with your customers, and making sure they're taken care of, and they will be a customer for life.
Boom.
This is true. Scott, do you have anything to say?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
I'm actually working on my internet connection now while we're speaking. So this is I went from Comcast to AT&T, and I just made a discovery that that really upsets me, which is everything in my house, all my devices are working beautifully except for this laptop. This might have been the problem all along, and I never thought about that. So yeah. So I really like to yell at AT&T, but it's not their fault. So anyway, so I apologize. I'm back in the conversation and everything. So let's continue on, and I'll just
Hipster, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, what John's saying is right. Everything, ultimately, it's about relationships and getting to know people as well as you can. But that's why you've got to be integrous in that whole process. You got to be authentic. Why would you want to manufacture something else? And you manufacture something in a conversation with Sandy, and then you have a conversation with Debbie, you manufacture something else, and all of a sudden they cross. Now you got, it's just way too much work. Why not just be yourself and be authentic and say things, be known for something. One of the things that in a new talk I've just built, I talk about not leaving your legacy, but living your legacy. And living your legacy is all about letting people know what you stand for right now. It's not about amassing things for later. You're dead.
That's good.
That's not that big a deal, right? Why not be known for integrity and be known for authenticity and being known for being a person of your word and, doing what you can to lift people up and things like that. Just seems like a whole lot more sense to me.
It does. I want to say something to that. I had always told my kids growing up, I know I always use that as my examples, but that's been the majority of my life. So I have a lot of examples with that, but I would tell them, be your authentic self, live your true self. And the people who are attracted to you, the people who like you, they really like you. If you're trying to be like a friend that you think is cool at school or a movie star, and then people like you because you're behaving like someone else, don't ever do that. Just be you, and then you'll attract the people who really like you. That's huge. That's huge. It really is. And, I don't want to act like someone else just to make someone like me. If they don't like me for me, I don't want you in my life either. So it's good. That's just the way I've always lived my life. But I know it's difficult as a teenager when you're trying to, get along and you're stuck in classes with people all day and you just want, but still, even at that, and even in the most uncomfortable situations, you can be a more quiet version of yourself if you're not comfortable, but always be you. And then whoever likes you really likes you.
I love you, Debbie.
I love you too, Lynn. I know you do. My goofy. Well, you love me anyway.
Peas and pods.
You are goofy, and that's why we love you. But honestly, as a father of 6 children, which I know is amazing, you're welcome. So, you look at the 4 boys and the 2 girls, and Deb, you nailed it on the head, man. And I'm like, man, if you don't like me, I don't give a rat's ass about you. But I know women and men are different, and it's a where you sit and the relationships you have with the kids and the conversations you have, because it can be extremely hurtful, and you see a lot of that in high schools where women can't take it or men can't take it, whatever it is. And it's being honest with the kids, man, because it's not like it used to be. There's no sense to it when we were kids. And you get those kids that get it, and you get the ones that don't get it. And my concern is the kids that don't get it. They need to be watched. They need to be helped. And no one needs to be worried about asking for help anymore. You can't do that, man. If you need help, ask for it. There's so many outlets. And I don't know. You just see it all the time, and you just hate to see the outcome. But, man, it's there. The help is there. And you just want to make sure the kids know the help is there. If they don't get it from their family, they can get it from the school or from other resources.
It's very true.
So one of the things you can do is to be the leader by example.
Right.
You know, trying to fix other people. It's like the best thing to do is be a teacher by leading your life in integrity. You know, the whole thing, mean what you say, so what you mean, as we're talking about, really comes down to how do you teach those around you? Yeah. People treat you the way that you're treating them. If you lead from integrity, lead from a clean place, if they don't get you, don't want you, they'll fall away. And if they do respect you and care about you, then you'll get a better, again, healthier relationships. It comes from that place inside. You start the relationship from how you treat yourself, how you treat others. Actually, that brings about a point. That thing about when we're saying, so what you mean, I think, I don't remember it was mentioned, Rex or somebody else mentioned about the relationship with yourself. We need to be honest with ourselves more often than not, and we don't do that either. We may not take care of ourselves when we feel sick. We don't go to the doctor. Or if we don't think we should be eating, we think we should eat healthy, but we don't. We still go to get a cheeseburger or something else. It's like, how do we treat ourselves to be, again, that model for other people? Do we take care of ourselves? Do we honor who we are? Do we have respect for ourselves? I've been talking with a friend of mine launching a program about the relationship with ourselves coming as a primary thing, because the relationship we have with ourselves is the longest relationship we'll ever have. Bar none.
That's right.
Yet we put that 1 second to others.
Yeah.
Second to our children, yes, even those. Second to our spouse, second to our pets, second to our employer. Putting ourselves first.
And Barry, to your point, I want you to continue, but I was just going to say, to your point,
sure,
the relationship you have with yourself, you're never alone.
Indeed.
Because you're always there with you. So you might as well so continue, Barry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. No, I appreciate that, because that just brings another point, which is in my book, which is about the fact that some people look at being alone as being lonely. Right. And that's a joke, because we keep thinking that I need somebody else to feel okay, which is a trap. When we love ourselves and take care of ourselves and respect the relationship we have with the one in the mirror, then every other relationship gets easier, because you're not needing them to make you feel better. You get to make yourself feel better. So yeah, absolutely. You're never alone. Thank you for that, Rex.
That's so good.
Love that. I think Scott's trying to come back. Sure. So go ahead.
Oh yeah.
He'll be back. He didn't notice you missing my
he went and got it. I was just zeroed in on Barry. I was looking at Barry and I didn't notice that Scott.
Oh, thank you, Debbie.
Yeah, I was just paying attention.
My first wife, I was divorced 2 years before she realized I left. Don't worry about it. I'm used to it.
Did you go get another computer? Where'd you go?
I saw
I actually rewired my internet while you guys were talking. So.
Oh,
wow, I'm impressed.
Go.
Could I add something to it, Barry?
What if you change?
Go ahead.
Sandy's talking, but Sandy's got a delay.
Sandy caught what Jonesy had.
Yeah. He posted over to her in Virginia.
Well, all I wanted to say is, I might really like you, and you might not like me, but that's okay with me. If I'm secure in myself, that's okay with me. I don't have to go, screw you, you don't like me. I can say, you know what? I think you're really valid and great and wonderful, but if you don't want anything to do with me, fine. I'll still be fine, and I'll live, and I'll have a good time. It's when we operate from desperation, like we need somebody else to validate us.
Right.
That becomes crucial. The other thing is this notion of asking for help is a great one, but people have been so disingenuous, and we have such lies and such, gaslighting and stuff that goes on that people are afraid to ask for help, because they don't know who the legitimate people are that they can trust to get the help from.
Right. There you go. Trust.
Being a leading by integrity, and also working somehow to help clean up the mess that we're in worldwide with the kind of communication and the stuff that goes on politically, religiously,
That's right.
and everyday life. I mean, some people got shot the other day because they said, "Hey, can you stop shooting so my baby can sleep?"
Right.
Right.
There's issues that are going on that are just incredibly bizarre. From humans treating each other the way humans treat each other, and this can be addressed. And this can be addressed with love and patience and compassion and honesty and directly. It doesn't have to be, always, one side fighting the other side and having money and this and everything, distracting us from helping people be able to get the help that they need.
Yeah, right. Very true. Unfortunately, very true.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the desperation, especially when you smell it and can see it in salespeople. They just make, they just ruin that one bad apple can ruin the whole batch.
Well, almost all of us here, if we're not all in the, personal development field in some way, we offer things to people and people don't get it. If I go, I will still live. I'll be okay if you don't get my product. I'm fine with that. Would I love you to have it? Sure. Do I love you if you don't get it? Yes. I'm not going to chase you. I'm not going to file it, that kind of thing. I don't need that. I don't want that. So if you don't want it, you don't want it. That's okay. I'm still good, and you're still good. And I can still appreciate you not wanting something that I'm offering. It's like if I say, would you like the pizza? And you go, no, I don't want pizza. I go, should I take that personally and feel like, oh my God, I'm a horrible person? You don't have to live anymore because they refused my pizza.
Right.
So I'm done.
Well, I have your book and I'm telling you.
It's worth it. I bought it many times over for people because if they don't,
it's a good book. Yeah, it's a good book.
I'm gifting this book to somebody here locally too, and then I have to buy myself a book. So,
and honestly, like all of I feel really awesomely blessed to be with all these great minds up here.
And we to you.
Yes,
absolutely. And
thank you.
Yeah. I apologize for missing on, I
missed out on
most of what happened here tonight.
I'm sorry, was Scott on? I haven't heard Scott for a while.
He was getting rewired.
Very much like my first wife on our honeymoon. She missed out on a lot of things too.
Okay, but I'm bummed.
Sleep. Yeah.
So
no, but
I wanted to. I want
to ask people because we're going to get towards the end here.
What about mean what you say and say what you mean when you're going through you're evolving? Like
Sandy's delayed.
Like the person I was 10 years ago said something, but that's not what I mean. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but you'll hear us 10 seconds later.
Good. Go ahead.
It must be the East Coast thing. I don't know. No, what I was saying was, 10 years ago, I would mean what I say and say what I meant. But now that I've evolved, it's different. Am I just a talking head?
No, go ahead. Keep talking.
Really see.
Keep talking?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, 10
You're
years
like Clutch Cargo. You're
I would say something that I mean when I say
it's like an old movie.
Say what I mean.
See, she's trying to mean what she says, but she can't say what she means right now.
Well, Sandy, that's amazing. I mean, I hope that we all evolve and over the years, like you have. I wish I could hear the rest of what you're saying.
Biggest part of it is we all evolve over time, and
right.
and it's what's our intention at that time. High intention, low attachment. You have a high intention of imparting something great each and every time. A low attachment as to what that does for somebody else or for yourself. Well, it's the same kind of thing. You have the intention 10 years ago to share your truth at that time. Then you have 10 years worth of extra experience, and truths change a little bit. I mean, look at how much the world has changed just in the last 3 years.
100.
So the reality is that all of that has changed over time. And I don't think anybody purposely says, In 2008, I'm going to lay this loop. I'm going to throw this piece of crap out there. I'm not really going to mean it. But back in 2023, boy, I'm going to come back and talk about it. I think you lay out the very best that you possibly can every day, and you evolve over time. The difference is if you take those snapshots in time, they're probably going to be pretty vastly different.
Let's see if yes. Sandy, are you there?
Oh, it must be the East Coast thing.
Yeah, she went from AT&T to Comcast, so she went the other way.
And Scott is gone again.
Yeah, Scott.
Ding dong ditched us again. He's doing some more rewiring.
Yeah.
Apparently.
So let's start wrapping it up. We've got about 15 minutes left. How would you like to wrap this up? I'll let the other Scott decide what you want to, or Rex, what question or how do you want us to wrap it up?
Go for it, Scott.
No, I just think, where are you in the evolutionary process on what do you, I mean, if to Sandy's point, how do you feel where you are today versus where you have been in the past? And are you moving in a appropriate path, whatever that is for you?
Let's see if Sandy can talk.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes. Keep going.
Hello. Okay.
Talk fast. Yes.
So we could really
well, what it is
respond.
I'll talk fast. I'll talk real fast. Well, what it is, I, as a parent, I've evolved. Am I still a talking head?
No, you're good. You're good.
I've evolved as a parent. Okay. I've evolved as a parent, right? And so, my kids are now adults. So I talk to, what I meant to them before is different. And now I can be my authentic self to them, right? Like I can actually tell them things that I couldn't tell them when they were younger, right? Because I don't believe you tell children adult problems. You don't tell them adult issues unless it's going to impact them. Like you kind of keep that, that boundary with that. I'm not going to share all that, but I can share that now with them. So they see me differently. Instead of that do as I say, not as I do thing, right? As we were, parenting, like do as I say, not as I do. But they don't really know what you're doing, right? They don't really know, why we act like that until now. And I have a great relationship with my adult kids because I'm able to be totally authentic now. I'm able to, fly the authentic flag, and say, hey, this is what was going on. You didn't know it. And this is what's made me who I am now. And, now I want you to know, the truth in all of that, because as a parent, you do it differently. I mean, don't you think, Debbie? I mean, don't you say things a little bit differently when they were younger? Now I want them to say, hey, learn from my mistakes. I want you to learn, I want you to know, that I'm screwed up,
Oh, so now you're also flying the freak flag.
So her internet is blotchy on purpose, so that you can get what
she's being monitored.
Yeah, she's being monitored. John, what would you like to say?
About what?
About anything. We're wrapping it up.
It's one of those things, and Sandy was talking about the kids, and it was funny. Before we jumped on the air, we were in the back room. Sandy and I know a bunch of people, but here's the deal, man. It's tougher than shit. Be honest. Do what you need to do. In the last 4 to 5 weeks, have learned from you people. I don't mean you people. I mean you guys, women. That came out way wrong. But the thing is learn what you need to learn. And when you learn that, bring that on to other people. There's so much negativity in the world. It drives me crazy. Take the little snippets here from Barry and Rex and everybody. And you know what? Bring that out tonight. Bring that out when you text people tonight. Bring that out when you send a note going, hey, sleep well. Hope you had a good day. You don't know what that will mean to so many people when you send a goofy note saying, hope you had a good night, sleep well. They may have had their worst day in their life, but a note from you could make it absolutely phenomenal. So just carry that on, man. 15 people a day, positive messages. It goes a long, long way. So thank you guys so much for letting me be part of this.
Thank you, John.
That's awesome, John.
Mr. Barry.
Thank you.
First of all, if you're still alive, you can still clean up your mistakes. So if you said things wrong before, you can go back and fix that if you want to. Some people may not want to do that with, but certainly, you can make apologies to people you made mistakes in the past. I mean, that's the thing about life, is that we do get do-overs in that sense. So in this conversation, I really feel like we've talked about quite a few things. And actually, to counter John's point, I don't believe that life is hell, the world is going to hell in a handbasket. I actually believe the world's in a very good place. There are a lot of people on the planet making some negative voices that sound very loud, but they aren't the majority. The choices we have on this planet is how we hold the space. And personally, being in a very strong spiritual community, I'm very much about holding a positive direction for where we're going. Now, it may be bumpy along the way because there are people who are going to say, excuse me, let me pull you off the road. One of these things about meaning what you're saying what you mean is sticking to your guns. Stick to your truth. Yes. Hold positive statements. Be positive people. Absolutely. I agree with you. But the thing is how we go through the world. Because if people can say, I'm going to call 6 people, it's great. But then if you cut people up on the freeway, and I live in LA where road rage was born, so I know what that's like, is how do you treat other people during your day? Can you be someone who has integrity with letting people cut in line in front of you, or open the door for somebody, or paying your bills on time, or calling back somebody you have an issue with, making amends with people? With some things we can do in life now that can change our life and those around us. Again, it's like we have ripple effects. So it's true what you were saying earlier. We were always saying this, that we have the gift, the ability, and I don't want to say the duty, to create a positive ripple in the world. How will we do that? Be nice to other people, be nice to ourselves. Again, relationship with self first, but then all the ones around you can be improved by being nice to them as well. But being your word as well, not being nice for nice sake, because sometimes you can say things to people that need to be blunt, sometimes hard, that sort of thing about tough love. Sometimes you tell people the truth that may be painful to say, but ultimately it's going to be the most healing thing you could do. So do the work.
I love that.
Do the work.
Do the work. And is it Rex? There's somebody who needs to go.
Yes.
Is everybody gone?
Rex hasn't gone yet.
Rex is here. It's Scott.
Rex.
It's the co-host.
And Scott's not going to be able to come back. He texted me and his thing is
he killed his laptop.
Yeah.
He shot it.
Yeah.
So I have 2 people I want to talk about. The first is Muhammad Ali, whose purpose was to become the greatest boxer the world has ever known. And to do that, he said, and I write about it in Life on Your Terms, he said, oftentimes I don't feel like training. I just don't feel like getting out there and running behind a car and doing what I need to do in order to be a world champion. He said, but I know that if I want to be a world champion, I have to get out there and train. I must do it now to service, to have something later. And so he committed himself. He kept his word, and he kept his promise to the people he trained with and his partners, because that was the kind of person he was, but also because he had a greater purpose, something bigger than himself. And to service that, he also didn't burn bridges to get there. He did what he had to do when he was, told that, he needed to go fight and he didn't want to do it. He became a conscientious objector. He did his time. He came back, did what he had to do, that kind of thing. He walked his talk, in other words. Now, the other person I want to talk about is in service of what I said earlier. And nobody nobody today understands this. But Jesus said, you don't put new wine in old wineskins because the wineskins will burst because they can't hold the new wine. And then not only that, but the people who are used to the old wine will say the old wine was better. So the point is that, and he also, another important thing, he said, you must clean the dish from the inside, the cup from the inside, and then the outside will be clean. It's an inner job. Muhammad Ali had to do it from inside. Motivation didn't come from outside. It came from his purpose. Jesus said, unless you are new, the old stuff, you can't put the new stuff in the old stuff. And people don't understand what that is about wineskins. But the point is, you have to be new. You have to be present. You have to become you have to be it in order to do it and have it. You don't act from your past and from your experience and from your old conditioning. You need the new conditioning. And that, again, is an inner job. You wash the dish, the cup inside first, and then the outside too will be clean. So make it an inner job. Know your purpose. Serve the world. Serve yourself. It's there's only one thing, and that's energy, and you're part of it. So whether you're serving the world or serving yourself, and you figure that out, you'll be doing a good thing.
Very good.
I love it.
Good
I love
stuff.
you. You're awesome. Just awesome.
It's an inside job.
That's right. That's what I always say. It's an inside job. And you guys, thanks again for being here on behalf of Scott and everybody here. It's just an honor to always have you guys here. And hopefully we'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys for being here. Anything else anybody want to say?
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Thanks
All right.
so much.
Okay. Have a good one, everybody.
See y'all next week.
Yep. Good night.
Keeping me safe and sound.